Hey there, future celeb, and welcome to How to Be Famous with Whitney Uland, a safe space to admit that you want to be famous. I'm your host, Whitney Uland. Now, I'm a big believer that the world will be a better place when more good-hearted people are able to make a massive impact. And if fame is calling to you, then there's an audience for you, and I'm here to show you how to find it. In this show, we are diving into the art of becoming a self-made celebrity. And no, you don't need $1 million ad budget or a team of Hollywood agents. I'm all about making a positive impact, sharing your unique voices, and ultimately connecting like-minded souls who also want to make a massive impact. So, join me as we explore the stories, secrets, and strategies to help you leave your mark on this world. Get ready to be inspired, informed, and even entertained, because this process is really about turning your dreams into a reality and finding the audience that's obsessed with you. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and together we will embark on the journey where I will show you how to be famous.
Hello, future celebrity. Welcome to another episode of How to Be Famous with Whitney Uland. I'm your host and your coach, Whitney Uland. If you're listening to this in real time, hi. I guess hi whenever you're listening to this, but I'm recording this from my bed because this week it is May 4th and we are hosting a 5-day event. These events honestly take so much out of me, like just emotionally, energetically, physically, spiritually, mentally, like literally just all of the things. So I'm in bed. It's 8 o'clock and I honestly was going to go to sleep, but then I was like, oh shit, I do need to record a podcast, but we're just going to do it from bed. But I've been having so much fun planning this and getting it ready. We just had the first day today. And I guess on the day that this comes out, it will be Thursday. So by then, Thursday is our day that we're bringing on our special guests, Michelle Lang and Natalie Bloom. We've been doing account audits, we've been doing teaching, and basically creating a brand that's in demand, scaling your consciousness by creating a parasocial relationship. And all of this, like, I'll just be like so transparent. This 5-day event is to sell our mastermind because that's what we've got going on. And we want to give people a real good taste of us, of our world, of what we're doing. And so we're putting on this huge free event, and it's so fun and it's also exhausting. Hence why I'm in bed. So if you are listening to this in real time, applications are open for the How to Be Famous Mastermind. When you join, you are going to be coaching. This is the most direct access that you'll get to me. You'll get to coach with me on a Zoom call once a week. Small group. We're capping this at 12 people. But with this program, we also actually build out your materials, build out your content with you. So you're going to meet the Celebrity Avenger Squad, and they're going to help you. And this mastermind culminates in a week in Hollywood where you come out here, I coach you, we make your assets, I direct you, I produce for you. We do all the things. It's so fun. It's like this, we just did I guess it was our third retreat, but it was kind of like was it the fourth? It was the fourth retreat. That we did in March, but it was kind of the first one that we did this new system where we're making the content, and it was like it like lit up all of the cylinders of my brain. I think I'm mixing metaphors now, but it was so fun. It was like it's the best. So anyway, if you want to pop off, if you want to be famous, you are a creator, you want our support, apply. I also am just a believer that like even the application itself is transformational. Like seeing yourself as a person who applies to this kind of opportunity can make a huge impact in your self-concept. So send in an application, tell us about yourself. If we feel like it's a good fit, we'll reach out. We can set up a call with me or with my team, answer all your questions. We obviously want you to feel good about it. It is a large investment. So but we're excited to call in the next round of the How to Be Famous Mastermind. But I also wanted to start with sharing this story because I texted today. Okay, so I'm trying to remember the last time that I gave a solo episode because I know that like the solo episodes are usually where y'all probably like learn the most about what I'm actually up to in my personal life and like my professional life. And so I don't remember what all I've shared, but I'm going back to the Cannes Film Festival this year. It's in a couple of weeks. And this year I am hosting the WIWA Awards. They're making a TV show and I'm going to be the host of it and interview the winners, all of the things. I'm so excited. And I also am like really just like knees deep in the prep of it. And this year I am doing a lot of the prep myself. Like last year I hired my stylist to help me with it. And this year I had the time and space and wanted to do it myself. I was like, I've not done this before. So I'm doing a lot more of the prep than I guess I have in the past, and pitching myself more, I have been securing brand deals for this event. And I'm really excited to share those with y'all. But one of the things that I wanted to do was like, I was like, okay, I'm going to be walking the red carpet. Got to make sure like the hair is done, the nails are done, but also my skin. I want my skin to be glowing. And I just, right now, it's not in Mama Witter's budget to get Botox. Like I would love to, it doesn't feel like an aligned purchase for me right now. And so I just had the thought, I was like, I'm just going to reach out to my girl and ask her if they have any kind of influencer program. And so I called the office and they're like, oh yeah, like just text her directly. Shout out to Lisa at Altelier. How do you say that? Because what ended up happening was I texted her and I was just like, hey, like, they told me to reach out. I'm going to the Cannes Film Festival. I was just wondering like if it's mutually beneficial, if you want to do a collab. And like, y'all, you have to know, like, I never want to be like that girl who's like, even though I do believe in like, and I think this has been my growth edge, to be completely honest. Like, obviously I believe in taking up space, but I never want to take advantage of people. I never, like, I'm always the person to pay for everything. Like, even when it's not in my budget, I'm always picking up the tab. Like, I never want people to assume that I expect preferential treatment. And so that's, I think, also why I hesitated to ask. But I just was like, hey, like, I'm going to be getting a lot of extra eyeballs on my content. Like, if this is mutually beneficial, like, let me know, whatever. And y'all, you know what she said? She said, I thought you'd never ask. What? She said, yay, I thought you'd never ask. And it was such a, like, exciting moment for me. Like, I literally, like, squealed. Like, I was like, oh my God. Like, this was, like, probably the most exciting thing for me. And like, it the entire like festival, like, I'm like, sure, the red carpet, but like free Botox, like, yes, count me in. But like, I'm just like such a skincare girly. But I've been an incognito skincare girly, just paying for it myself. But it was an interesting shift for me, because I was like, how often is God, angels, the universe, other people, opportunities, gatekeepers waiting for us to ask? And literally thinking, I thought you'd never ask. Like, I've been wanting to do this. I've been wanting to, and I think the other reason that I loved this moment so much was because it really reminded me that it is a mutually beneficial collaboration. I think that it's really hard sometimes. Like, I always want to help good-hearted people who have done the work on themselves, people who want to make a massive impact in the world. And sometimes, to be that person, you've learned to deprioritize yourself, and you've learned that playing small is what is safe, and you've learned that prioritizing other people's happiness is what is best. And one of the mantras or the affirmations that I like chose for myself years ago was, when I'm in charge, everyone wins. And that's something that I've always really strived to set as a precedent for myself and as a boundary for myself as I lead, is to show up and advocate for what's best for everyone. And that looks different moment to moment, but I think so often it's easy to think or to get caught up in the fear of taking from other people. I know, again, that's my growth edge. And, you know, I talk a lot about how celebrities are people who don't have to play by the rules of conventional society. And sometimes that can be misused because it's been in the wrong hands. And people who are the most self-aware are the least likely to go after the resource of fame, because we're so aware of the implications. But I guess I would just challenge you that, what if your desires are mutually beneficial? What if when you're in charge, everyone wins? What if your desires also help to amplify other people? What if other people are also excited and inspired to be a part of what you are part of? I also had this moment. I was at an event, and I was around a lot of artists and a lot of creatives. And I noticed that I was having, specifically actors, I noticed that I was having an effect on people where they felt compelled to tell me about why they were giving up on their dreams, why they were letting go of their goals and of their ambitions, and feeling the need to justify out loud, but it was for them, it was for themselves, why they'd moved on from their goals or why they'd given up on them. And it was very interesting because, again, it was anytime I notice a pattern, I'm like, okay, there's something here that I'm supposed to learn. And seeing it reflected back 3 times, I'm sure was a mirror for me in ways that I've done this as well. But the theme that I kept hearing was people waiting for something or someone outside of them. And the reason that they were telling me that they left the industry or quit acting or, however they want to look at it, is because they were tired of feeling small. They were tired of feeling like they were at the effect of life and of the industry. And it was a really, again, I know that I have moments of doing that, and we'll get into that today with what I wanted to talk about, but it was also a really powerful moment of me to see how far removed from that line of thinking I really feel now. And that has taken so much work, and so much work of believing that I am in control of my career, that I am in charge, that I can be powerful, that I can be, I guess like in control. Like, I see this all the time, and actors think that they're not in control of getting work. Entrepreneurs think that they're not in charge of getting clients, and they think that these things are outside of them. And again, I slip into these things too. But the truth is, as soon as you start to fall down that pattern, down that, like, it's a slippery slope where all of a sudden you feel like you're powerless, and you lose your power, you lose your access to source, to creativity, to your infiniteness. And it was really interesting and almost easy for me to see, because in one of these conversations with an actor, I had said, I was like, it's interesting. I haven't been on set. I was like, my feature film, The Cosmos Sisters, it came out 5 years ago. I was like, I've kind of been on set since then, not in a big way, not in a substantial way. And I don't actually feel like I took a hiatus. I don't feel like from the outside, it might look like that because I haven't been on, I have been on a few sets, but not as substantially. And yet that never even crossed my mind, because my life just kind of became this like vortex, this vacuum, this chrysalis really, where I feel like I had to go through these major life changes and in order to come out the other side as the butterfly, as the powerful creator. And it's interesting because through that, I think I've just realized I'm like, no, I'm the creator. Like, if I want to act, I make the stories that I act in. And I believe that at such a strong level now, which is interesting because I didn't always. And of course, there's a sexy, alluring, a seduction of being chosen, of being picked, of being selected out of a crowd. And I think that part of the reason it's so seductive is because it's harder to believe in your own power. It's easier to feel like you're chosen. And yet, in deciding that you are the operant power, that you are the creator, that you do have the power, that's where you end up being chosen. Like, that's where people end up wanting you and deciding. And today I really wanted to talk about the difference between a deadline and a timer. And I'll get into that in a minute. But for context, I had this moment of realization. Y'all may have seen this on my Instagram, where I just realized, and I don't even know if it was a moment that hit, or if it was I just felt ready, or if I just decided. But I mean, because ultimately it was a decision, and I'm looking back, I don't know if there was something specific that triggered the decision, because I don't necessarily think I felt ready. I still don't really, but I decided that I was ready. I decided that it was time to bring my work into the world, and to bring my scripts into the world, and to start producing them. And so I decided part of that self-initiation was changing my Instagram bio to reflect where I'm going, not just who I've been. And so I changed it away from being like Whitney Uland life coach to Whitney Uland self-made celebrity, actress, filmmaker. And I listed that one of my scripts, The Book of Marjorie, is in development, which it is. And it's funny because on the outside, I think those, we spend so much time like tinkering around on our profiles or on our websites or whatever. And I think that sometimes that's a distraction and other times it can be really intentional. And this for me was a moment that it was very intentional. And it was where I decided that it's time to stop shrinking and to stop letting my power be outside of me and stop waiting. And it's so funny because I didn't even realize this at the time, but I made that decision. Of course, then I was met with, I always talk about as soon as you make that kind of decision, you enter the river of misery, which is where all your doubts live, all your fears live, all your resistance. For me, that looked like confronting fears, difficult conversations, moving through resistance, facing things, making big decisions. And yet on the other side, like we were making a post, and I think this one was Alex's idea. He's like, you should post about how many people have joined the Celebrity Circle, which is our like newest program. And I've kind of been like trickling out the launch, but we had an official launch. For context, right now it's May 4th, and we launched it, I think, officially like on April 16th. Anyway, we had like literally over 30 people sign up for it. And I appreciated that Alex pointed out, he was like, that's big. Like that can be like there was a time that having 30 new clients, like, are you kidding? Like that was so all I could have ever like dreamed of. Anyway, so there was that. And so I was making this post about that. And then I was thinking about it. I was like, I feel like there have been some other cool things too. Like I closed 2 brand deals for Cannes. And again, this is all since that like 16th. Like I think I made the post on like the 12th or something. I guess I could look that up. But then it was just within a couple of weeks that everything shifted really quickly. Yeah. So I got 2 brand deals. We signed 30 new clients, over 30. I think it was like 32 or something. I had an agent reach out wanting to represent me. I had a production company reach out wanting to make a TV show about me. And there was 1 or 2 other things. And I was just like, and it was so interesting too, because, okay, I get to watch as a coach, I am at the vantage point where I get to see so many people's dreams come true, which is so fun and so cool and has taught me so much. So after watching so many people create their goals and see their dreams come true, I think you would assume or expect that it would be a lot of like, oh my gosh, like this finally happened. I can't believe it. Like screaming, crying, throwing up kind of thing. But the truth is, when you create a result, it's something that you've been betting on and believing in for so long. And ultimately, every time you set a new goal or set a new decision for yourself of what you're going to create, you have to then like tip the scales of your belief in the favor that you can have that. And that's the hard part. It's never actually the actions that it takes to get there. It's the like continually showing up when you're like, I have no evidence that this is working. I feel like I'm crazy. I look like I'm crazy. It would be so much easier to just go back to hiding, to doing what I was doing in the past. But to continue showing up and believing and betting on the vision and taking action in honor of what you want, even when you're scared, even when it doesn't make sense, even when everyone thinks you're crazy, even when you're triggering people around you, that's the hard work. And so when you've done that and then you tip the scales in that favor, you're able to release attachment. And you're able to then see clearly and just slow down and enjoy the journey. And I know that's like the most like cheesy, like life coach bullshit jargon, like, oh my God, just slow down and enjoy the journey. But that really is when you become an energetic match to the results that you want to create. And what I mean by that is, as you continue, again, tipping the scales of belief in the favor of the thing that you want, at some point it's going to compound, it's going to collapse, and it's like infuriating because then you get at that point, you're at the point you're like, oh, I'm actually fine without this thing, right? It's like the law of detachment. But you create the result. And I also just want to like caveat with all of this. If I know I feel like I am speaking a little bit like high level in terms of belief, but this is like learning how to believe in yourself, learning how to believe in new skills or in new potentialities is a skill. And the amazing thing is it is the exact same skill as creativity. The problem is that most creatives just don't realize how to channel it. And we get so like shiny object syndrome and like squirrel, and we also get so like drowned in our emotions when really we have this insane superpower of being able to create worlds and to create identities. And the only trick is to be able to harness that and use it for good, for the future that you want. And that's why like artists, creatives are so powerful. But all of this is very teachable. I mean, it's literally like, I'm like, that is the skill of the celebrity energy circuit that I teach. That's the backbone of literally everything I teach, is to teach you how to believe in these new things and to collapse the timeline by becoming that identity, by becoming that person. And once you finally get to that result, it's not exciting anymore. And the feeling isn't like shock or even like, I don't know, like jubilation is the word that came to mind. It's a calm, present knowing. And the thought, because our thoughts always precede our feelings, right? The thought that creates that feeling is, I was right. It's this version of like, oh, I was right. It's this knowingness, I was right about myself. I wasn't crazy. And if there's one thought that you could practice thinking every day in order to believe, that's the thought. And again, that's why like so many terrible people end up creating the resource of fame, because they just believe that they're right all the time. And for someone who is creative and empathetic and wants the world to be a better place, they don't always think they're right all the time. They're questioning everything. Like, I know that my curiosity is what drives my creativity, and I want to keep that humanity. And so it's a dance, right? Of believing that my vision for myself can be right while also being willing to question and own my mistakes and decide, you know, and learn when I was wrong, when I need to check myself, when I need to apologize, that kind of thing. Okay, so let's go back to what I had originally decided to talk about, was this idea though of stepping into that new timeline and ultimately deciding that it's time, deciding that you are ready to walk through and step into a new chapter. You don't have to wait for a new year, a new school year, a Monday, a like holiday to pass, like literally anything for the weight to drop, for the followers to come, whatever timeline you are giving yourself. And I'm saying this with love because I was doing the same thing. Any timeline you are giving yourself and putting it in the future is bullshit. That is just your brain trying to protect you from entering the river of misery. Because guess what? The river of misery sucks. The river of misery is vulnerable, okay? The river of misery is scary. It's you betting on you being the operant power. It's you betting on your vision. It's you greenlighting yourself and your ideas and you saying, what I have to say matters and I'm going to put it out in the world, and I'm hoping that my heart doesn't get smashed by millions of people. It's scary. It's vulnerable. Your brain doesn't want you to do that. So of course, your brain is instead going to continue delaying and putting it off. Now, the two concepts we're going to talk about, one is a deadline and the second is a timer. And I think that so often as creatives, we mix these two up and or we just misuse them. So what I want to offer is that a deadline is a boundary. It is a unit of time or an expectation of when something will get done. And again, I'm going to continually use the word boundary when I say deadline, because enough is a decision. One of my friends, Kate McLeod, I just went to her wedding, and I remember she was the one who shared this with me. She had asked her friend, how much does it cost to have a child? And they said, however, as much as you have, right? As much as you have. The same thing is true with your goals. How much time does it take? As much as you give it. As much time as you have is how long it will take. You have to give yourself a deadline. Otherwise, enough will just continue moving on and on and on. And we see this, and I know so many of us, like this is myself too, right? In school, I was always I would try, oh my God, I would try to be like, I'm just going to take this piece by piece and like approach it every day and like attack 5 pages a day. And then by the end, no. I waited till the end and then I did it at the last minute, like probably 85 to 90% of the time. But we actually do that. We honor a boundary. We honor a deadline. Especially what I want to offer is that we honor deadlines when other people impose them on us. And so often, like I was literally journaling, I was like, what do I need to get this done? And then I was like, I think I need or was I talking to like ChatGPT about, I don't even remember, but I think I was talking to ChatGPT, but I was like, yeah, so like basically I need someone to tell me that there is a timeline and then to like once a week check in with me and tell me if I'm doing that and whatever. And they're like, so a mom? You want a mom, basically. And I was like, yeah, can I hire that? Is that a possibility? And it's like, Whitney, no, just like actually hold yourself accountable. Just actually hold your own timeline to the standard that you would for someone else. I was talking to a friend recently about the time that they carve out for their work, and the thing about a deadline too is that when you give yourself a deadline, creativity loves constraint. Okay, when you give yourself a boundary, that's when you feel free to play. That's when you feel free to explore. And I think that there are different ways, productivity-wise, you can obviously give yourself a completion of like, this is the thing that will be done, right? Like I'm thinking about with writing. I used to say, I'm writing 5 pages today. Like it doesn't matter how long it takes me, I'm doing 5 pages. Or you could also say, I'm writing for an hour today and whatever comes out is correct and I'm not beating myself up. Right. And I think there's different methods for different times and different purposes. But my point with all of this is, are you holding yourself to your own deadlines? And if not, why not? Is it because is it a lack of respect? Is it for yourself? Is it fear? Is it not wanting to enter the river of misery? Y'all, it is not easy to turn your creativity on. It is, I honestly and I realize this is a very like, woe is me. Like, I'm sure someone's going to quote me on the internet for saying this and give me shit, but to turn on enough to host a webinar, to give a podcast, this business is something that I used to dream of. And yet the act of doing it requires effort. It requires energy. It requires me to turn on at a brighter capacity than me laying on my couch scrolling through my phone. And so you know what? My brain doesn't want to do it. My brain doesn't want to get on and make a podcast for you. My brain doesn't want to, even though I love these things, I love talking about this, my brain doesn't want to go and work on 5 pages of my book. My brain doesn't want to work on, and again, my brain would rather do tactical send 5 emails or like adjust a landing page or whatever than be creative, because being creative is hard. It takes energy. It takes effort. It requires turning yourself on, tapping into your celebrity energy, your God energy, your creativity in a way that, again, it is the creation. It's the creative process. That's what I'm going to say is a deadline, and get really clear on why are you or are you not honoring it? Because 99% of the time, if someone else gave you the deadline, you would stick to it. And the second, I guess, versus a deadline is a timer. Now, a timer is a timeline, but we don't respect it. We don't honor it necessarily. It's this arbitrary timeline, and it's typically imposed by society or by our past expectations when we had limited information of saying, oh, I bet it will only take this amount of time to become famous. I bet it will take 4 years to book the lead of a Netflix show or whatever, when we just had wrong information. And we don't hold ourselves accountable to finishing it on that time, but we do beat ourselves up if we don't get it. And we make ourselves feel bad. We make ourselves feel wrong. And it weighs down on us. A timer feels heavy. A timer feels like it's in the past. It feels like it's dragging you back to an expectation that you didn't meet and reminding you that you didn't make it. A deadline, now that's forward movement. That's ahead of you. That's something that you're working for that you have decided ahead of time you will complete. And with part of that, it's deciding that it's within your control, right? So at the end of the day, again, the roles, the opportunities, the bookings, the clients that you are a match for are the ones that you believe that you are worthy for in that time frame, right? And of course, I'm not talking about talent here. I'm not talking about like the delusional people who have never put any time into their craft and who don't know what they're talking about. I'm talking about like the real, actual, true belief and in yourself and in your ability to command attention, to command a room, right? I always share this about how I met with one of the biggest Hollywood agents. And they said this was a literary agent. They said, when I'm picking writers to represent, I'm not just picking the best writer, I'm picking who can hang with Brad Pitt. Because the person who can hang with Brad Pitt can sell a room. That's the person, right? Being the person that knows how to sell a room, being the person who knows that you are worthy of it, being the person who has decided that this is within your control and that you are the operant power and that you can create this, that is where your power lives. And I think one of the reasons that we're afraid of setting deadlines is because we're afraid of looking embarrassed if we don't hit it. And so we half-ass it. We don't fully commit to the vision. I noticed a habit that I really didn't like in myself during the pandemic, during lockdown, was, if you remember this, Lore, I launched my crowdfunding campaign March 6th, which is my birthday, of 2020, and then lockdown happened. And with raising money, you have a deadline, you've got 30 days, and they extended it by an extra 30 days or whatever. Anyway, what I realized, the pattern that I uncovered with myself was that I was running all the way to the end and then not sprinting through the finish line. I was getting all the way to the end and then stopping. And that was because I wasn't committed to the deadline. I hadn't decided that I was going to do it. Because it feels easier. It feels easier to get yourself 95% of the way there, but not finish it. And I used to do this with roles too. And it's so funny because I've had 2 auditions this year and they both quote unquote came out of nowhere. You know the drill. And with both of them, I was so fully invested. I was so sure that I got the role. I was like 100%. I was like, oh my God, like this is so aligned. I'm so aligned with this role. This was meant for me. The timing works out perfect. Like I was just, there was no part of me that didn't think I was going to get it. And I think in the past it would have scared me to believe that, because what if I don't get it? That feels so embarrassing. Like I don't want to get my hopes up. And then it feels embarrassing to myself if I don't actually get it. And what I've realized is that you don't even have a shot if you don't believe that you can do it. If you don't 100% believe that it's you, then you literally don't have a shot. And there's no way in hell that you're going to get it. And what I've also found though, is that the more that you believe in it, the less it actually hurts if you don't get it. I remember Lindsay Mingo telling me once, when she played volleyball, she was like, if you are bracing for impact, when you dive for the ball and you like dive straight into the floor, she's like, it will hurt more if you are bracing for impact than if you just lean the fuck in, right? And that's the same with belief in yourself. I think it's easy to think like, oh my God, like what if it hurts more? What if it's more embarrassing if I don't get it? But the truth is, it actually, the more that you believe in it, the easier, like then if for some reason you don't get it, it's arbitrary, because in the process of you believing that you are that person, that's where you become the person who is like a match for those roles. So even if it's not this role, it's the next one, right? And I think there's nuance to this, because not every timeline or timer is toxic. It's not all coming from a bad place. And just because you extend something doesn't mean that you are like betraying yourself. And the goal with a deadline is not to become rigid or to be punishing yourself. It's to give yourself a clean benchmark of how committed you are to the vision, of how committed you are. Because again, if you say like that you're going to get to a certain deadline and you are so committed to it, and for some reason, whatever reason you didn't, you will have grown so much more in the process if you were actually creating, if you were actually committed to it. And so a clean deadline ultimately creates focus. It creates momentum versus a timer, this like dirty timer. It creates shame. It creates self-blame. And I think that there's nuance to, like, so often I coach people on, they're working towards their goals, but they're not even setting any kind of timeline for themselves because they're used to just beating themselves up about not getting it. And I would offer that if that's you, the point of a deadline is not to be harsher with yourself. It's to become more honest and to become more aware and to give yourself a benchmark of how deeply you are believing in yourself. Okay, I'm going to get to the celebrity circle segment in a second. So many S sounds. But yeah, I think that's basically the gist of what I wanted to share today. Again, I'm really excited to be headed back to Cannes. I'm excited to take y'all on that journey. And I think that this has been just like, I'm excited. Part of the journey for this also is expansion. And for me, it's releasing grip and trust. It's requiring a deeper level of trust in my team, in the universe, that in like higher power, in myself, that we just have to take things one step at a time and that the tracks will continually be laid in front of me. I feel like, I've shared this before, but I feel like expanding back into my filmmaking and back into my acting while running this business feels like having another child, and ultimately just having the decision that I'm going to create the capacity for both. And obviously that means more support. I think that I'm noticing that I think that my relation to my filmmaking is actually going to look a lot different than I thought it would, because I'm going to have to bring on more support. I love to be a producer who's like very in the weeds with things, and I'm realizing that's in order to, it's kind of like using the child analogy. It's like, okay, if I'm going to have multiple children, I'm going to need a babysitter, right? I'm going to need a nanny to make sure that, again, when I'm in charge, everyone wins. So that has really been my guiding question, is how can I make this a win for everyone? And where that has led me to, and I'm not going to share too specifically right now because these things are still in gestation and involve other people. But to that point, I think a lot of it has been realizing that it's about bringing people along with me on the journey, and that I create opportunities for other people. And again, all of that starts with the belief that like I'm in control, that this is all within my power and my dominion, and that my goals, the things that I see for myself, I keep having to believe that I'm right about them. And the last thing I'll just share, like for a personal thing, is that I think that I keep kind of assuming that it's going to get easier to expand into new identities. And in some ways it has. There is a part of me, I feel like this time around the block, with this new iteration of myself, Whitney, however many 0.0, there is a deeper level of knowing that I do always land on my feet. I always figure it out. I'm the kind of person who figures things out. But it still is a very fine line between being in my power. Like I was talking about, like tipping those scales. The river of misery is still really fucking miserable. And again, that's, I think, the thing that I keep being like, wait, isn't this going to get easier? But the truth is, if you're continually pushing your edge and pushing your growth and going after desires that you've had, and I feel like for me, even though I'm closer to my goals, to some of my big goals than I've ever been, it still feels like I'm noticing that same pattern of like getting 95% of the way there and then not sprinting through the finish line. And that's the habit. That's my edge, and that's what I'm working on. So I always love, DL always asks in our mastermind, she's always like before we wrap up, she's like, what are you working on this week? And sometimes sometimes I answer with like the projects, but also the mindset and the ways that I'm coaching myself. So, okay, so let's get into the celebrity circle segment. Is that what it's called? Yeah, I think so. And for context, if you are new and you are looking for a way to coach with me, I I totally encourage you to join us inside of the Celebrity Circle. This is my monthly group coaching membership. It is very accessible, very affordable. And you can submit your questions and have them answered here on the podcast. And you'll also get access to the tools and the it's like the DIY version of coaching with me. So definitely, if you're new here, check that out. We'll make sure to have a link to that in the show notes. If you are ready to, so there's kind of like 3 different tiers of working with me in the How to Be Famous world. So the first is a Celebrity Circle. That's the one that I was just talking about. Then we've got the Self-Made Celebrity. That's where we teach you how to create celebrity energy and to turn it on demand and create the resource of fame. And then we've got the How to Be Famous Mastermind. That is the our high-level coaching program where you get the most access to me and to my team, where we actually make the things with you. So again, the Celebrity Circle is do it yourself. The Self-Made Celebrity is we do it with you. And then the How to Be Famous Mastermind is kind of like we do it for you. So would love to have you join in. We have all of those offers so that we can help accommodate everyone at every level. So wherever you're at in your journey, we would love to work with you and coach you as well to create the resource of fame. So we'll make sure to have the links in the show notes for that as well. So this question was submitted inside of the Celebrity Circle, and it says, and in the Celebrity Circle, we had a call with DL. Sharon, and she is I think she's been on the podcast once, maybe twice. And she's an incredible coach on sales. So the question was about kind of in regards to that call. So says, love the call with DL. It made me ponder sales. What turns endless DMs that are basically free coaching into sales, bypassing trauma dumping stories, storytelling, and questions like, would your product work for my situation when the product is around $100? I've heard someone recently talk about hierarchy and how when you are perceived as approachable, people stop seeing you as an expert. They don't want to pay you. It's interesting, for a while there, I wasn't in a position to pay for Whitney's program, but it never crossed my mind to DM Whitney and be like, yo, I have this question about fame. Care to coach me for free in your DMs? Yet people do that to me without much hesitation. What turns one into a person that people want to buy from? I don't think this is purely a marketing issue. Okay, so great question. So a few different thoughts. One is that I actually do all the time. People ask me to coach them for free all the time, like every day. So yes, there is some sort of like angling positioning to that. But also, of course they do. Like, I really just have the belief, I'm like, yeah, of course everyone wants access to this for free. Like, of course they do. Like, I have created something amazing. And so can you envelop that into your self-concept and also have the boundary that you don't have to respond to them? Right? Like, I'm like, of course they want to ask you for free coaching. Of course they do. They're fans. Like, of course. And so let's not make it a problem. And I really do think, like, to your point, you're like, I don't think this is purely a marketing issue. I really do think that this is about expanding your capacity and raising the status, raising the thermostat for yourself of what is an acceptable behavior. We all have these different standards, right? For what we think is acceptable, whether that is through the amount of money that we make, the amount of fame that we have, the amount of like randos that we engage with even. So I would encourage you, and literally everyone listening to this, to audit your energy and protect that. Like, it is going to audit your energy right now and see what is draining you and just remove that. And it's in removing that is going to have to also be paired with the belief that the paying clients will come when you stop giving your energy to the people that are not paying for it. You have to up level that standard and raise that standard. And there's probably going to be a little bit of a lag time between when you make that decision and potential. And I'm not saying there has to be, I don't want to put that in your head, but if it does, then nothing has gone wrong. Because there's a little bit of like you've declared something to the universe, and then I feel like the universe is going to be like, okay, are you sure? Like, but what about all these free people that maybe you could convince to sign with you? Nope, not a problem. Those people, of course, they're there, and now you're building on that next level, right? It's kind of like how with an actor, in order to become a person who books work, you first have to be the person who gets callbacks for work, and before that, you have to be the person who gets auditions. Same with booking clients. In order to get those high-paying clients, you have to let's reverse engineer. First, they're going to be asking for it for free. Then they're going to be wanting to pay $100 for it. Then they're going to be wanting to pay $200, whatever. It's really just about raising your standard and raising that energetic minimum. So Yeah, and I think in terms of like I personally disagree. I mean, I feel like you were on this week's webinar about building a brand. I personally believe that like the hierarchy thing, like yes, there is something about kind of being unapproachable and like hierarchy, but I also believe in the parasocial relationship effect makes even more of an impact than trying to put yourself on a pedestal above someone. So I wouldn't worry as much about that as just for you deciding your new minimum, and really holding to that, because that's really where all of the work lies. All right, my friends, this was such a fun episode. Thank you so much for listening. And we'll be back next week, I believe, if I'm remembering this correctly. We're going to have some of our current mastermind students on the podcast to talk about their experience, answer questions, that kind of thing. Like I said, if you are interested in working with us, with me and my team of experts, the celebrity vendors, and you want us to build your brand, build your content, build your portfolio with you, apply to the How to Be Famous Mastermind, and we will reach out if it seems like a good fit and set up a call so that we can go over everything, and make sure that we've got all the right energies in the room. I hope y'all are having an amazing day, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye.
And that's a wrap on another episode of How to Be Famous with Whitney Uland. If you found today's episode helpful, then make sure to subscribe and leave me a review, or tag me on Instagram at Whitney Uland. And if you didn't enjoy the episode, then feel free to keep it to yourself, or go ahead and boost my SEO with your engagement. It's really up to you. And if you're ready to be the next big thing and you want to take things to the next level and work with me directly to become a self-made celebrity, then head to the link in the show notes where you can learn how to coach with me directly. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or gossip, then feel free to slide into my DMs. They're always open, and I love hearing your stories, celebrations, and wins. Until next time, I'm Whitney Uland, and this is How to Be Famous with Whitney Uland.